Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Student Spotlight series where we showcase some of the work our past students have done with CCIR. My name is Jackson, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Ishan. Ishan, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what year of school you're in, and what it is you've done with CCIR, your course?
Of course. My name is Ishan Gowda. I'm a junior at Barrington High School in Chicago. Um, um, yes, I'm in 11th grade and I'm also 17 years old. Um, I chose to do the one-on-one research program with CCIR. I found that to be a more personal experience, and I genuinely really enjoyed it. It was so thorough and well explained. I didn't have any past experience in doing research. And when I actually went into the through the application process, it's a bit nervous, like you've never done research before. What previous knowledge should you know when going into it? What I found is that it was it started really from the ground and the foundation, and I could build on that. And my mentor taught me a lot from the base up and grew my project, and it was really interesting, and I got a lot of information out of it.
Excellent. Could you tell us about your mentor and also walk us through your project?
Yes, of course. My mentor was Dr. Neofutsu. She's from the Cambridge. And she helped me find my paper and helped me through the process, which I did the application of liquid biopsies in artificial intelligence and cancer diagnosis. This is where I basically explored the cancer field, and I found a great problem in the increasing cases of cancers nationwide. Um, and that's where my basis of my research project started. Um, and I found more cases were in non-small cell lung cancer, that's where I specifically focused my research on. I wanted to see some conventional methods used in cancer diagnosis. One topic that we found very interesting was liquid biopsies, which is more conventional, but is still a little bit novel use of diagnosis. So I wanted to see how that can be improved for non-small cell lung cancers as those cases continue to rise. So I wanted to see how artificial intelligence was being used. So I wanted to adapt a new way and see how artificial intelligence was being used with liquid biopsies to see how diagnosis was being improved, is it being earlier detected, and how that process worked.
Okay. Could you explain for those of us not in the field what a liquid biopsy is and what was it small cell lung cancer is?
Yes,
Yes.
of course. So basically, a liquid biopsy is actually very simple. It's where you take a blood sample from your subject, the human, um, and you can either take it um, informal, where you don't know if the person has cancer or not, or you have previous knowledge that this person might have cancer. You can take it in both different methods, but both methods are the same. You take a sample of the blood, then you centrifuge it to gain plasma, which has the DNA information, and that gets tested. Um, and you get a bunch of data from that, and you cross-reference it with another database, which you can see the differences in mutations, and um, that's what a liquid biopsy is. And an artificial intelligence, like what I found through my paper on how that it can prove that, is basically reading the information part, seeing where the mutations lie, and reading it faster, more efficient. So early diagnosis is it can happen earlier, and you can help patients more.
And uh small cell lung cancer? Uh
Yes, it's just the most common type of lung cancer that there is.
okay. And so how did you train the AI to do this?
So I didn't personally, this was a literature review.
Okay.
So I found 10 different cases that went over how they implemented AI into a liquid biopsies and saw how those improved, which one of my findings is that it greatly improved early detection.
Mm,
Um, it helped track disease changes over time and also helped minimal residual disease, which is MRD, which is really important because let's say you get chemotherapy and um, you say you're cancer free, but then that cancer comes back because there's minimal amounts left in the body. Um, that AI can detect that.
mm. Um, so what would you say your key takeaways are from your literature review?
I would say key takeaways, um, mainly my three findings was AI had a massive impact on liquid biopsies. There wasn't much cases being done, and the 10 cases I found was probably in a pool of around 30. Um, and there isn't much implementation of AI, but I can see that this is going to be much more implemented due to the successes of it. Um, and I can also see that the higher accuracy using AI in cross-referencing the databases.
Mm. And at the end, did you produce did for the literature review, you've produced an article that maybe you hope to publish or
Yes, I I published it to NHSJS, which is high school journal of
Mhm.
science. I've gotten back revisions to make on the paper, and I have to submit that back again to the journal. And I also got accepted to the European Association for Cancer Research conference, which was amazing. I mean, I'm very
You will
grateful
be
for that.
presented?
Um, yes, it will be presented.
Okay. When is that? When is that? How are you preparing for
That's in June, mid-June, in Hungary.
it? Okay. And how did you find the writing process to be
For which one, sorry?
for the literature review? Pardon me. For the
Oh,
publication in JHS.
of course, yeah. I mean, again, when I went into the CCIR, I was, nervous. I didn't know much about research. So my mentor genuinely helped me so much in the process, walked me step by step. We first had a full-on draft, what goes in each section, what are the titles of each section, um, how the flow should be. And then we worked on each section, section by section, and it was very easy to understand. And it's not only that I can use this information on this research specifically, but also I can conduct my own research because now, through this program, I know how to conduct research and the step-by-step process to make it easier for me.
Mm. And so how did you and your mentor come to identify this gap in the research, this like overall topic?
Of course, before I actually, when I was trying to find out different ideas for my research before even applying. I had an idea that I wanted to do something in oncology because I found that very interesting, um, and obviously something in the science and medicine field. Before I went in to my interviews, I found great interest in seeing how artificial intelligence was being used in medicine. I knew there was some ethical practices that people had questions about and in the field of medicine, but I there wasn't much information on how AI is implemented into cancer diagnosis. So I wanted to explore that field because I haven't heard much about it, and obviously with AI being the forefront of today, and it analyzes so much information, how that can benefit cancer research.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so do you foresee any future projects related to this area um that you could be taking on in the near future? Or
Of course. I just focus on non-small cell lung cancer. I can see myself focusing on other types of cancers. Um, Most likely sex-related cancers, which has the most prevalence um, in people and the highest cases. So that would be an interesting area to explore,
Hmm,
and it will have a greater impact too.
okay. What was it like working with your mentor at Cambridge?
It was it was amazing. I'm so glad that I did the one-on-one research method or the program because I have that personal experience, and she knows everything that had to do with my paper, the method, the research question. She was there for every process of it. Um, every week we used to meet. At the start, we met 2 times a week just to gain basic information on the topic, what cancer is, traditional methods, conventional methods, and also new methods, which included the liquid biopsies.
Hmm.
We did some lectures, and I just learned for the first, I think, 3 weeks. After that, we started the paper. We tried to find a gap in the research, which was the lack of implementation of AI.
Hmm.
So the process was very so information lectures first, and then we continued on to the paper, which was amazing.
Okay. What did those information lectures, what did they consist of?
So yeah, first was very simple. Again, it starts from the base, which I was so happy about because I didn't have much information and research before starting this. We started off with what is genetic information, um, what is the DNA, what does it consist of, and then we went on to different methods of diagnosing cancer, um, which conventional uses chemotherapy for treatments. We also went over key terms that I used in my paper, like minimal residual disease, MRD. Um, we also went over assays. So basically, a holistic sense, and then we went specific into more on my research and more on liquid biopsies, as that's what mine focused on.
Okay. And so how do you think your idea of the field changed before and after taking on this research project?
So it changed actually a lot. I had a holistic sense. I thought it was, very simple. Only a few types of diagnostic methods. Um, you know, um, few diagnostic methods. But after doing the research, I found out there was a lot more, and it can be improved a lot more.
Okay. And did you face any barriers methodologically or in terms of understanding or any barriers in terms of carrying out this literature review?
Of course. When gaining my data was basically the most block I had in conducting my literature review. There wasn't much sources that implemented AI in liquid biopsies as it was relatively new. Again, there was like a pool of 30 studies, and I picked 10 that had to do with non-small cell lung cancer as that was the most commonly used for AI in liquid biopsies. Um, it took me a long time to find um, the studies from credible sources and journals, and also understanding each paper because the terminology used in these papers isn't simple. And my mentor helped me through that process, and I had she made it so simple for me, and I understood it so much better, and I can actually gain the data and understand the data from each paper, which was very beneficial.
That's great. That's great. And so how did you all decide on like narrowing the scope to specifically small cell lung cancer for the lit review?
So, non-small cell lung cancer. was one of the most common types of implement AI implementation in liquid biopsies. And also, my dad is a physician in pulmonary critical care, so I found great interest in that too. Um, and I had like a personal sense to that.
Okay. And do you have a sense of why it is that non-small cell lung cancer is the type that has received more treatment when it comes, or not treatment, but like that there's been more um
Diagnosis.
diagnosis through AI of it?
Yeah, non, well, um, when it doesn't have to do with sex-based cancers, non-small cell lung cancer is one of the major types that has rising cases. So that was uh, a very that was one of the main reasons why it's AI in liquid biopsies, is that's why non-small cell lung cancer is the main type in that because of the rising cases
Okay.
as the one.
What is the community attributed the rise in cases to? Is it too soon to tell, or has that um
It's always hard to tell because there's so many different factors. There's environmental factors,
mhm,
such as for skin cancer, the sun, when you're outside. For lung cancer, it's what you breathe in, pollution, smoking. There's a lot of different factors when it goes into it. Also, genetic factors that's mainly have to do with sex-based cancers. So
mhm.
there's so many different factors, and it's very difficult to see what influences cancer more. Is it the environmental factors or is it the genetic influence more?
Gotcha. Gotcha. And so did you read about how the AIs were trained? And could you tell us more about because I'm interested in also hearing about like, there's the integration of AI with the making of the diagnosis is something that really interests me.
Of course, yeah. AIs are trained like on mass databases. My
Hmm.
paper didn't go into it, but I needed to understand how these AIs were trained because where are they getting this information from? And how are they making decisions on where the mutations lie and what diagnosis to make? So they're based on major data sets that they use from patients.
Hmm.
Um, Patients that have already been diagnosed and found where the mutation lies in the DNA. They use all this information and compile it and feed it through the AI, and this AI learns from that and uses this information to make quick decisions on new patients and where um, the mutations lie for them and make quick diagnosis. But what I've noticed is that people have also ethical concerns. Is your data being personally used into these AIs methods, and is that ethical or not? Should that be, should you give confirmation that your data should be used for that or not?
Hmm. You had mentioned ethical concerns with AI. Was that kind of the chief one? Were there more ethical concerns with AI in this that you found?
The main ethical concern, well, there was two. Yes, the data being used, is your data being used into the AI? And also the next ethical concern was how you want the personal experience. Do I want an AI making the decisions for my cancer, which is going to affect my life?
Hmm.
Um, or do I want that personal experience? Do I want a doctor making those decisions? So that's what people had actually a concern on that. But I found out that using this AI in all 10 of the studies, they didn't just use the AI, they used it in combination with the doctor's methods. Um, and also research methods. So it uses the AI to help, but it's not just the AI.
Okay. Okay. Well, there you go. And going back to the paper and your experience in high school, how has writing this project, this literature review, how how do you see that this differs from your regular high school coursework?
Of course, this CCIR program, it's more hands-on learning. In school, it's more, you learn through lectures and then you test on multiple choice answers, free response questions. But this, I learned from my own passion. I learned because I had an interest in it, and I used that information, the lectures in the beginning of the sessions, um, to conduct like a creation, a project, which was the literature review. Um, that's that I've been working on for such a long time, and it's all come together, and that's basically like the test. But it did not feel like that at all. It was um, because it came from my own passion and I just wanted to do so well. I got something great out of it.
Okay. What practical skills do you think you got out of it then as a student researcher?
Of course, the main practical um lesson or lesson I got out of this was finding sources, finding credible sources. I could not find, it was so hard for me to find credible sources as there was very few. There was only around 30. Finding 10 credible sources was very difficult. And finding, scavenging through different databases was learning perseverance to go through those databases and find relevant information was a good lesson that I got out of this.
Hmm. So previously you had not had experience reading these sorts of journal articles that comprised your literature review?
No, I did not actually. This was the first time, and um, it's helped me. CCR has helped me through the whole process, from the beginning to the end.
And could you tell us about a time your mentor maybe helped you out or better approach the field, the research, and its dialogue?
Of course. So basically, one of the sessions was um, we had the idea that we wanted to find 10 papers on non-small cell lung cancer. Um, and my task was for that week, was to go out and collect the 10 papers. What I did was I read the abstracts and I collected those 10 papers, but I couldn't really derive the information out of it, because it was hard for me to read the results and understand how to put that into a chart that I can present in my literature review. So she helped me understand the different charts that were inside the literature, that were inside each of the studies, how the data was presented, um, and that helped me read the information and read the results so I can use that into my literature review.
Hmm. And so, what advice would you have for another high schooler taking on a similar literature or research project?
Um, I personally think is just apply. It might seem a bit nervous that you might not have research, um, done research before, as a lot of high schoolers haven't. Um, well, the one-on-one research program really just starts from the beginning, starts from the foundations, and builds upon that, growing from the base, knowing how to start the project, understand the research question, how to find the proper method to correlate with your research question. It really starts at the basis and grows upon that.
Hmm. And how did you come to choose CCIR or what better said, what is it about CCIR that made you say that you wanted to do this? I'm sure you have other things you could be doing with your time as someone in 11th grade. Um, you know?
Of course, I want to go into medicine when I grow older, and research is a big part of that. Conducting your own research onto something you're passionate about is a big part in medicine. Um, and through the Cambridge Center for International Research, the one-on-one program um, allowed me to conduct something that I'm passionate about, and something that I want to research about and grow my knowledge into that field.
Hmm. And where do you see yourself going forward then after this project?
I want to yeah, do my own research, find different ways I can use the artificial intelligence or different studies that use artificial intelligence in liquid biopsies. Um, Also, if I want to have more hands-on research that I want to do in the future, where maybe I work in a lab, is I can have my own original study where I use artificial intelligence and this high databases to diagnose a patient. Um, in a study in itself instead of using the secondary data in what I did in my literature review.
Hmm. Wow, that's really ambitious. And how old are you now? You said
I'm 17.
17. Wow, that's great. And uh, could you also tell us a bit about your mentor as well? What their work looks like, what their fields of interest are?
Of course, she's part of um um sorry, she does she majors in molecular biology,
Okay,
um and she helped me through the process of this research project, finding the different methods and my research question, and really helped me through the process of this.
okay. Was there anything else you would like to share with people that would be potentially interested, other students in a one-on-one mentorship with CCIR, or students that are just interested in molecular biology, and in your research?
Of course, to everyone who's interested in doing research, Cambridge Center for International Research is an amazing way to get started. Um, it helped me through my process, and not only the process in itself, it helped me guide my future applications and what I want to do in the future. It really solidified that I want to practice medicine as I go on into college and conduct research throughout my whole process. Um, and it's a direct way of doing something that you're passionate about and making a difference in the world.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad that you got connected with us at CCIR and you took on this research project. It's amazing to hear kind of how you're growing as a student researcher, and it sounds like you identified a very serious and important gap in the research.
Thank you.
And with that, thank you, Ishan, for and everyone for joining us for another episode of the Student Spotlight series, where we highlight the work of our past student researchers in the one-on-one mentorship program.
All
Video.
right, thank you.
Thank you, Ishan. You have a wonderful day. It was super interesting talking to you and hearing about your research. You have a great head on your shoulders, and I hope you know continue on your way, and that this was a good transformative experience for you.
It really was. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.